A big thanks to Llano for sponsoring this week's video. Hello and welcome back to North Wales. So I'm here with my buddy Henry, who you might just be able to see in the background there. And yeah, we're heading to this amazing location today to hopefully bag ourselves some woodland photos, which I'm really excited about. And as you might be able to already see, the colour here is absolutely fantastic. I think we've hit it just at the right time. So I'm really excited to see if we can make a few images. Plus, I'm going to be answering a few of your questions as well. And also, I've got a very exciting new photography product to share with you as well. So yeah, lots to talk about in today's video. So let's get into it. So I recently put out a post on Instagram asking if any of you guys had any questions that you'd like me to answer. So I've got quite a few responses, so I'm going to be working through those today. Sounds like the jets are flying over. But I think first, we want to try and get a shot down here looking back up this amazing gorge, because the colour down here is absolutely fantastic. So I've set a shot up here, and I'm shooting this handheld because we're on the road here. I don't think it's really safe to set up a tripod, but that's fine. I've got the polarizer on, which is really helping to saturate these trees here and take some reflections off of the water as well, which is really helpful. And that's going to be about 1/4 of a second, and I'm shooting that handheld with the IBIS turned on, obviously, in this camera. It's absolutely fine. I'm getting sharp images, so that's all that matters. The light's really flat, but there's a lot of atmosphere too, so I think it does work. And yeah, let me know what you think to these shots. I think I'm going to take one back the other way as well, because it looks absolutely fantastic. And then we're going to walk up the side of this gorge. So yeah, should be a cracking day. So it was a pretty nice start. Quite happy with those 2 images there, even though the light was quite flat. But I think the reflections of the water helped, you know, just bounce a bit of light about. So that's pretty cool. So anyway, I want to get on to the first question. And this is from Adam Palmer. So thank you, Adam, for sending in your question. I'm going to be reading these from my phone. What's the best landscape composition tips you can give for trying to compose shots when out with your camera? Finding and composing a photo can be challenging when surrounded by so much landscape. That's a very good question. What I tend to do, because obviously we can get overwhelmed, can't we, by the landscape, especially when we're in such a beautiful location like this. And what I tend to do quite often is just get my phone out, maybe take a few shots on my phone, really honing in on certain specific scenes. Sometimes it's a lot easier seeing it through a camera screen or a phone than it actually is with our own eyes, because we're taking in such a wide field of view, and obviously we've got the smells and different senses that are kind of having an influence on how we perceive a scene to look. So yeah, just trying to simplify it, maybe using the phone screen or your camera. The next question was from Ivan V. So thanks, Ivan, for sending in your question. And it says, "Hi Ian, I saw multiple astro photos in your profile on Instagram. Are you using a H-alpha modified camera to capture these images?" So to answer your question, my camera is not H-alpha modified, but I'm told some Fuji cameras are quite good at picking up H-alpha. Next question is from Laura Hensley. Thanks, Laura, for sending in your question. What are your go-to settings for capturing dramatic landscape shots, especially in tricky lighting? So obviously all settings are going to be different depending on the current conditions at the time, but typically I'll think about how I want the scene to look. So if I want to show motion in the image, obviously that'll dictate what shutter speed I want. And also if I want to freeze that motion, it will dictate what shutter speed I need to have. So I'm always thinking about that first, and obviously that has a lot to do with the composition itself. Obviously if the conditions are tricky, typically I'll bracket my photos just to make, getting the exposure correct when I get back to post-production a lot easier. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Wow, this is such a beautiful spot, especially this time of year. It's actually the 2nd or 3rd time I've walked down here, and I've always wanted to come back in autumn. It's absolutely incredible. It's a bit of an attack on the senses, if you will. Such vibrant colours, especially when everything's wet and damp. Absolutely brilliant. And it's so warm for the time of year as well. It's around about 15 today, which is crazy for the beginning of November. Might have to shed a layer in a minute or two. So the next question is from Jake. Thanks so much for sending in your question, Jake. And Jake says, what's your opinion on prime lenses versus zoom lenses for landscape photography? Do you find one better than the other? So I have both zooms and primes. Typically I've got the 16-55 and the 70-300 zoom lenses in my bag, which covers a massive focal range, and that really is fantastic for landscape photography because it gives you so much flexibility. And I do have a wide angle prime lens, the 13mm f1.4. And the reason that's a prime lens is because I like to shoot a little bit of astrophotography from time to time. Just navigating this. And having an f1.4 aperture allows me to suck in all of the light when I want to shoot the Milky Way. So it's really handy to have that prime lens in my bag. So the next question is from Dylan Greenwood. Thanks, Dylan, for sending in your question. What's the best Fujifilm lens you've used for landscapes and why would you recommend it? Bit of a tough question. I can give you my most used lens. It's the 16-55 without a shadow of doubt. I think the majority of my landscape photos fall within that focal range, so it's definitely my most used lens. There is a Mark II version coming out very soon, or it might even be out right now. Which looks very interesting. It's lighter and smaller in size. So I think I'll be looking at that lens very, very soon, maybe to reduce some of the weight in my pack. So that might be my new go-to lens for the future. So I've moved away from the water just for a second to get a bit of peace and quiet and to talk about today's sponsor, which is llano. And this is their portable camera battery charger. And I have to say, it solves so many problems for photographers who are constantly on the go and need a solution to keep their batteries organized and charged up. Now, this charger will hold 2 batteries, but the neat thing is that it's got a built-in 12,400 milliamp hour battery that supports fast charging, so you can charge up without needing a power outlet nearby, and it charges 2 batteries in about 2.5 hours, which I think is a lot faster than regular chargers. It works similar to AirPods in a way. You know, you just drop the batteries inside, press the power button, and the batteries are charging. And when you do have a power outlet, you can charge the batteries and the power bank simultaneously, which again is really cool. The digital display on the front shows your power bank status and also your battery status as well, which is also very, very good. Another massive bonus is the 2 USB-C ports on the side. So it works as a power bank as well. So if you need to, say, charge your phone up, or you've got wireless microphones like I have, or an action camera, you can charge those up as well straight from this power bank. Now it fits into my camera bag and it takes up about the same amount of space as one of my camera bodies. It's about the same weight as well. And for peace of mind, it's packed with safety features like thermal management and short circuit protection to keep your gear nice and safe. It also comes with a USB-C cable and a carrying bag as well to keep things neat and tidy. Currently, llano are making these for Canon, Fuji and Sony batteries, but I believe they're currently developing them for other camera brands as well, such as Nikon. Now, you know, this would have been such a valuable tool when I used to shoot a lot of events because, you know, I was always looking for ways to charge my gear, and quite often I couldn't find anywhere, or I'd be quickly moving from one location to the next. And with this setup, as soon as the battery is dead, it gets instantly charged, and you know, it's just so easy. So if you need an all-in-one reliable solution for charging up your camera gear, be sure to check out the links in the video description for the latest prices and discounts. And a big thanks to llano for sponsoring this week's video. Right, so we can make a few more images and answer a few more of your questions. So I really want to see if I can make a shot here. You can see here we've got this mountain ash in the foreground with still a few berries on, which is quite nice. And then, yeah, just in between there, we've got this beech tree. So maybe frame it up around this area. See what we can make here. So my initial thoughts are that this image might be a little bit on the complicated side, if you will. But I definitely need to take an image. These wonderful berries on this mountain ash look just fabulous. So I've got the 16-50, oh, there goes the lens cloth. Got the 16-55 lens on and the circular polarizer, because that's going to help me control some of the highlights down there in the water, because it's going to be very, very glary. I think I've got my tripod set up fairly safely. So let's see if we can frame this up. I'm shooting a 16:9 composition. I've actually swapped the lens over from the 16 to 55 and I've got the 13mm Viltrox lens on now. I just needed a bit of a wider framing. I have got the polarizer on, and typically when I'm shooting with a wide angle lens I don't use a polarizer. However, it's working really well. It's taking the reflections off the water and saturating the foliage. If you're shooting, say, blue skies with a polarizer, you can get some really strange effects when you're shooting with a wide angle lens. So yeah, I don't tend to use that. But anyway, for this particular scene, it's working really well. And I think I quite like it. I'm just waiting for a couple of things to happen now. I'm waiting for a little bit more light. And also, I'm waiting for my good friend, Henry Turner, to get out of my blooming composition because he's sneaking in the corner there. Anyway, when he moves, we'll take the shot. So the next question is from Alex Tanaka. Thanks, Alex, for sending in your question. I've been using Fujifilm for a while now, but do you think it's worth upgrading to a full frame camera for landscapes, or is APS-C enough? So whenever I think about upgrading, I always think about what that actually means, because upgrading in certain areas could also mean downgrading in other areas. So for example, a full frame camera is typically heavier and a lot larger than an APS-C camera. So if weight and size is a consideration for you, if you did move from APS-C to full frame, you'd be downgrading. So it all depends on which area you're talking about. If you're talking about, say, image quality, for example, you will probably get slightly better image quality from a full frame camera than you would an APS-C. But for me personally, I think the APS-C system is the sweet spot, if you like. It's light enough for me to be able to cover lots of ground during a hike. It's small enough not to have a massive backpack, which is fantastic. And the image quality is good enough to make really nice, large prints. And that is really what I'm looking for. So I think it's all a personal preference type of thing. And everybody's going to have their own individual opinions on that. It's really down to personal taste, I think. The next one is from Priya Sharma. Do you have any favourite locations that you always go back to for photography, and why do they keep drawing you back? I think it's an important point, actually. I think with landscape photography, it's not very often that we get lucky when we visit a location for the first time. And if you do find a nice composition, it's just great to go back to it time and time again and hope for, you know, good conditions. The more time you visit it, the more likely you are to get good conditions. It's a bit of a numbers game, isn't it, landscape photography? So yeah, if you find a nice woodland like this, where you think it might suit misty conditions, keep checking that forecast, keep going back. And that's one of the reasons I love shooting locally as well, because you can just quickly look out the window and think, hey, the light's looking amazing now, I'm going to head to this location. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I love going back and revisiting existing compositions. Next up, we've got a question from Kimberly Choi. Thanks, Kimberly. How do you handle lighting during sunrise and sunset when the colours are constantly changing? That's a good question. You know, typically I'll always shoot in RAW, which gives me the opportunity, if you will, to be able to change those colours later in post-production. I think that's probably the biggest tip I can give you. During sunset and sunrise, it's always quite a good idea to maybe shoot in either cloudy or shady white balance settings, as this will give you a better representation of the scene. Typically auto white balance might try to correct those warm tones, so you might not see, you know, a very true to life image on the back of your LCD. So sometimes that can help your composition. So yeah, maybe that might help you out. So I think it's time that I found another photograph. I think this is the point in the trail where the path starts to head inland a little bit and we move away from the gorge, if you will. So yeah, I think we'll probably make our way back down now, see if we can shoot at a few different locations. I've got a couple of spots that I've already seen that have really caught my eye, so I'm looking to see if I can make an image or two there. So I do apologise about the noise. It's particularly noisy at this little spot just here. But I put the 7300 lens on and I'm zooming right in down this gorge here and just picking out a few details. F11, half of a second, really focusing on the colour of these beech trees down here because they look absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Next question is from Lewis. Have you ever encountered a situation while traveling or hiking when you missed a shot because of the wrong gear? What would you have changed? So yeah, I'm always forgetting stuff. Like that's one thing I'm always doing, forgetting SD cards, batteries. Even forgot a lens recently when I went on a trip to North Wales. I thought I had my telephoto lens and my standard zoom lens in, but I didn't. I'd actually picked up my 18-55 standard zoom and my 16-55 standard zoom. So I was there with two standard zoom lenses, but you know, I made the best of it. And yeah, I would have changed that for sure. I would have took the correct lenses with me, but you make the best of it when you do make mistakes and hopefully try to learn from them. Next up, we've got a question from Elena Oritz. Thank you, Elena. Do you have any workshops planned for 2025? Yes, we do. Myself and Henry are planning to do some more, and I've got a few more local ones in Pembrokeshire and the Brecon Beacons lined up. Haven't confirmed those dates yet, but they will be going on the website very, very soon. So be sure to look out for that. And if you want to be kept up to date, be sure to check out my newsletter, which is free. The link for that is down below. And I always send a newsletter out before I announce it anywhere else. So yeah. Next up, I've got a question from Ravi. Thanks, Ravi, for sending in your question. When you're hiking in challenging terrain for a shoot, how do you balance carrying enough gear without overloading yourself? Well, it's such a great question, to be honest, and it's very, very difficult. I'm always going out thinking, oh, I've brought too much out with me today. But over the years, you know, I've whittled my amount of gear down to just the very sort of basics that I need, really, and I'm always more comfortable taking less out with me. I find that I can walk for longer, cover more distances, and I'm also more fresh when it comes to wanting to create more images. You know, if you're tired, quite often you just want to pack up and go home. So I would recommend traveling light and yeah, just enjoying the day out for what it is, being part of nature, being amongst these beautiful landscapes. So it's been an absolutely wonderful day out here today, and thank you so much for sending in your questions. It's so great to be able to answer them and interact with you. I really do appreciate that. Anyway, I think that wraps the video up today. If you'd like to check out another video, there's a link to one at the top there, and over this side there's a link to my ebook on landscape photography composition. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all again next week.